missiles continuing to strike the cities of Ukraine, destroying infrastructure and cutting off power as Ukrainians try their best to live a normal life.
This past year has been unfortunate for Dallas residents as they experience a spike in rental prices. More insight on what the spike has caused coming up.
The Cowboys undergo their fourth win of the season as now starting quarterback Cooper Rush continues to save the reputation of America's favorite team.
Broadcasting live from the University of North Texas, this is ntTV News at Noon.
Thanks for joining us on ntTV News at Noon. I'm Isabella Quintanilla.
And I'm Mauricio Ortiz-Segura.
The war continues to surge throughout the country of Ukraine. As of today, the only bridge connecting Russia and Crimea has been destroyed in a missile strike. Blasts have been reported in the capital of Kiev, Dnipro, and Zaporizhia, as well as several other cities across the country.
Actually, only a couple of feet from where one of those missiles struck. I'm going to actually get out of your way really quickly, and then you can see the massive impact crater that missile left behind. It's not only very wide, but it's also very deep as well, and you can tell that it's really torn through the tarmac, the upper layer of the road there, and just blasted right into the street. Now, just a couple of minutes ago, the Ukrainians are cleaning up right now, but there were a lot of destroyed cars that were here. There was also one dead body that we saw the recovery and rescue crews take away as they were working the scene. And, you know, it really made for a rude awakening for us in the early morning hours of today. I would say it was around maybe 8:15 local time. That would have been about 1:15 on the East Coast that the first explosion took place. And then as the morning progressed, we heard explosion after explosion as the Russians were apparently hitting the capital city here in Kiev with a lot of those rockets, those missiles. The Ukrainians apparently intercepting some of those as well. We just got some footage in from the Ukrainians showing some of the missiles that they say they intercepted on the outskirts of Kiev. But those air raid sirens were going on for a very long time. The Kiev mayor is telling people not to come to the city, not to venture out. Of course, people who work on the who live on the outskirts and then come into the city to work, also telling them not to come as well. And it's a similar picture in large parts of the country here, of Ukraine, where several cities have been hit. And the Ukrainian president has said he believes that there were two targets, essentially, that the Russians had. One was Ukrainian energy infrastructure. There's a bunch of places that are without power. Part of the city of Kiev is also without power as well, but also Ukrainian civilians. And if you look behind me, what you see there is a road junction. That's a road junction. There were a bunch of cars there. There were a bunch of people crossing the road there as well. And all this happened at around 8:15, 8:30, which of course in any major city is a major time of rush hour and a time when people are going to work.
Pressure on former President Donald Trump is intensifying as the House committee is set to hold what is likely one of its last hearings this week. The Supreme Court could also weigh in on the classified documents seized from Trump's Florida home. CNN's Amy Kiley has more.
Former President Donald Trump has been rallying supporters this past weekend as questions over his activities ratchet up. Here he is in Arizona. And in Nevada. He talked about the Justice Department investigation into the alleged mishandling of White House documents. A dispute around that probe has reached the Supreme Court.
Whether or not former President Donald Trump tried to overturn the 2020 election takes another turn. On Friday, the Fulton County District Attorney filed a petition asking for more of Trump's allies to appear in front of a special grand jury in Atlanta. Most notable, former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and former U.S. House Speaker Newt Gingrich. The prosecutor says Flynn is a necessary and material witness who needs to talk about a meeting he had with the former president and his allies 3 weeks before receiving a pardon. And as for Gingrich, prosecutors want him to talk about encouraging Trump's campaign to air advertisements promoting the false narrative that suitcases containing fake ballots were smuggled into State Farm Arena. So far, no word yet from Flynn or Gingrich on this petition. This investigation was set off by the hour-long phone call Trump had with Georgia's Secretary of State asking him to find the votes he needed.
An appeals court in the state of Arizona has blocked the state's ban on nearly all abortions temporarily. Planned Parenthood was the one that filed an appeal to stop the enforcement of a 1901 law. The ruling from the appeals court allows healthcare providers to perform abortions on women up to 15 weeks into their pregnancy. Once Roe v. Wade was overturned at the federal level, women were forced to look out of the state for 100 days for places that could perform the procedure after the restrictive abortion ban took effect. Planned Parenthood is Arizona's largest abortion provider, and they say that it will take time to ramp up reproductive health services again.
The public to update their COVID boosters in revelations founded by a recent study. The study found death rates decreased last year by at least 370,000 due to vaccinations. In addition, the study determined vaccines had a connection to lower medical costs by over $16 million. So Mauricio, how have your allergies been holding up this fall?
Well, you know, I can't lie, they've definitely been kicking my butt, but you know, it's funny I say but because I've got the sniffles, but the weather has been great lately. Let's check in with our weather anchor, Chris Goodwin, to see what the forecast for this week is looking like. Chris?
Thank you, Mauricio. Yes, so beautiful day in Denton with a temperature of 73 degrees, and it's mostly sunny, but it definitely feels like 70 walking around here on campus. Tonight, though, it will be dropping down with temperatures of 64 with partial clouds. So if you plan to be out and about in Denton, I definitely suggest bundling up with a nice sweatshirt because it will feel like a 62 degrees. Tomorrow, however, it will be rising up to the mid-80s that we all know and love with the 86 degrees with wind speeds up to 10 to 20 miles per hour, and there will also be partially cloudy. I have more later in the full weather later in the show.
Thanks, Chris. Students at the University of North Texas continue to experience some of the worst parking problems at any campus in North Texas. Find out what students have to say coming up next.
Major steps in the legalization of marijuana have been made as President Biden seeks to pardon those who have been imprisoned for simple possession of the substance. More about this next.
Time of year where everyone plays a dangerous game with the flu. Going in uneducated, you run the risk of symptoms like cough, migraine, and fatigue. Don't be like this guy. Combat the flu with cough drops, ibuprofen, and a good night's sleep. Be smart, don't catch the flu.
UNT is more than 125 years in the making. To find new solutions, we create a new point of view. We know what's possible when creativity, originality, and independent thought converge. We're ranked a Tier 1 research university. We're home to excellence the size of Texas. Define your future at UNT and soar to new heights.
Imagine it's ice cream day at the office. And everyone from the day before voted for their favorite flavor. Everyone but you. You decided not to vote. The flavor they picked isn't the one that you wanted. But can you really complain? Shh! Now imagine that with an elected official.
Choose not to vote, choose not to be heard. Get registered today.
Whether you commute or live on campus, you've probably noticed that parking spots are not easy to come by during the day. I spoke with some students and a spokesperson from UNT Transportation to find out more. Ever since UNT moved back to being fully in person, the biggest challenge for students has been finding a parking spot.
You have to kind of plan out, okay, my class is at, say, 11 a.m. That's one of the busiest times. So you have to come sometimes 2 hours early to make sure you get like a decent spot.
Students typically pay $275 a year for a parking pass and are frustrated because they still struggle to find decent parking.
They'll charge like a bunch of people for parking passes, and you might have a parking pass, but that doesn't necessarily mean you'll get a spot. So like, I don't really like paying that much for parking that I can't find.
However, a spokesperson for UNT Transportation explained that there is still plenty of parking on the outer rim of campus and that they provide fast and easy transportation.
A lot of students, faculty, and staff want to park on the east side of campus, so closer to the Union, the Greek Life Center. What we're trying to do is convince them that the easiest and most convenient way for them to park is out in Lot 20. It's on the completely opposite side of the campus, but we have buses and shuttles that run all the way around campus. So if you time it right and you can park and get to the bus, you can actually get to campus in less than 10 minutes.
So while there may not be enough parking around the central part of campus, there are other alternatives available to students.
We're trying to get you used to the fact of, as more parking becomes available towards the outer edges of campus, how can we still get you to UNT safely, quickly, and all day long?
There are bus stops all over campus, which you can check out on the DCTA website, and you can reach out to Ms. Venegas for more information on transportation services at margarita.venegas@unt.edu.
$165 million is what Columbia University is going to pay the victims of one of its former gynecologists. Nearly 150 women came forward against Robert Hayden, all reporting that he had committed sexual abuse and misconduct while he was employed with the university's hospital system. Columbia University is establishing a compensation fund for all of his victims. Hayden is awaiting trial for 6 charges related to accusations of unlawful sexual abuse from 1993 to 2012, to which he pled not guilty. Back in 2016, he did plead guilty, however, to a criminal sex act and forcible touching.
Purdue University police have charged a Purdue student with murder after the death of his 20-year-old roommate in their college dorm room. Purdue's police chief said 22-year-old Ji-Min Shaw called 911 early Wednesday morning to report his roommate was dead in their room. Police responded to the call and took Shaw, a cybersecurity major and international student from South Korea, into custody. According to a preliminary autopsy, the roommate, Varun Manishchida, died from multiple sharp force traumatic injuries. So far, the motive is not known, but the police chief said he believes the killing was unprovoked. President Joe Biden is taking his first major steps toward decriminalizing marijuana here in the U.S. Biden said Thursday that he will pardon all prior federal offenses of simple marijuana possession. He will also encourage governors to take similar steps to pardon state simple marijuana possession charges. Senior administration officials say the move would affect thousands of Americans and begin the process of loosening federal classification of the drug. Marijuana remains illegal under federal law, even as individual states have moved toward legal use for recreational and medical purposes. Looks like Biden is making due on the promises he made back in 2020.
That's right. Well, now let's switch it over to our weather anchor, Chris Goodwin, to see what we can expect later this week.
As I was saying earlier, we're finally getting back to that fall weather that we all know and love. Locally, we are seeing low 70s across the board, with Graham at 68 and Bowie at 61. So perfect if you want to go take a stroll through the park or maybe through a pumpkin patch. Looking across regionally, we are seeing Abilene at 66 degrees, Austin at 75, Houston at 73, and Oklahoma City at 63. So we're seeing everywhere experiencing these low temperatures. So as my favorite song by The Neighborhood says, perfect sweater weather. Now looking at my 7-day forecast, we're going to see after tomorrow, starting Wednesday through Friday, it's going to be sunny. Friday, it will be 87 with a low of 64. Saturday, it will be 90 with a low of 65. And Sunday, a high of 84 with a low of 56. But on Monday, I definitely suggest getting a little bit of a heavier jacket because it will be a low of 50 degrees.
Thank you so much, Chris. As of this past month, the U.S. employment rates has significantly increased, but it is not all good news, as economists are saying that there are signs pointing to a downturn.
A blowout win for the University of Texas this past Saturday left OU feeling a little green. We have the play-to-play breakdown at the end of our show with our sports anchor, Alex Rapp. So stick with us.
Sorry. Oh, sorry, man. Oh, sorry.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Let's get started. This is a motor vehicle. This is the blinker mechanism. To use it, push it up for the right blinker and down to go left. You're welcome. It was easy.
Hey, listen to my flow to save some H2O. This my water rhyme, and this is how it goes. First, turn off the sink and take some time to think. When you waste water, our supply shrinks. When you take a shower, not more than an hour. Shoot for 10 minutes and save water power. Use a reusable bottle, smart like Aristotle. Ditch all the plastic and be a role model. And that was my H2O flow. Please remember how it goes, because if you don't, Earth will go, oh no!
Everyone loves Chick-fil-A, but a new survey says that they actually have the slowest and busiest drive-thru. According to the 2020 QSR drive-thru report, Chick-fil-A is only the slowest because it's so popular that there are almost always cars in line. But while Chick-fil-A customers spend the most time in line, they don't seem to mind, giving the chain a 93% satisfaction rating for speed. First place for fastest drive-thru went to Taco Bell, with most customers getting their food in well under 4 minutes.
The statistics have come in, and it is great news for Americans. This past month, the U.S. job market has reportedly added 263,000 jobs, which turns out to be slightly higher than economists have expected. Although this is exciting news, it turns out that the number marks the second month in a row of falling totals, which is pointing to a labor market slowdown. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate has fallen back to 3.5% from the previous rate of 3.7%.
You might want to start fishing for coins in your couch again. As a result of inflation, the U.S. Postal Service is proposing an increase in their prices. First-class stamps would cost 3 cents more, and mailing a postcard would increase by 4 cents. And increased fees for P.O. box, rentals, money orders, and insurance is also something the agency is looking to employ.
The National Football League and the NFL Players Association have agreed to update their league's concussion protocol after the Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa had to leave the field after a hit 2 weeks ago. After passing a concussion test in the locker room, he returned to the game. The team's coach explained that the injury was in the lower back, but fans were concerned after seeing the player's awkward walking after he left the field injured. 4 days later, he was diagnosed with a concussion once again. Current regulations require players to stay out of games they are removed from if they exhibit motor instability. The new protocol will prevent players from returning to the play if they are unable to get up from an injury for any reason. In other news, with recent inflation, everything seems to be rising in price. Our own Mauricio Ortiz Segura went to Dallas to find out more about recent hikes in rent. Mauricio?
It's no surprise that rent is increasing across the DFW area, and it's safe to say that people are not thrilled by these constant hikes.
How about them Cowboys? I'll have the insight on yesterday's game and the blowout at the Cotton Bowl this past Saturday. Stick with us.
For days at a time. He finally comes across a bar and orders a Coke.
That's not funny.
Eh? Eh?
6, 7. Hey, didn't see you there. Just finished my 100th rep. You ready to train?
Yeah!
You got your weights?
Yeah!
You got your energy drink?
Of course.
You got time to go to the Pole Recreation Center?
Yeah. What?
Listen, I didn't even graduate high school. I can't teach for the life of me.
Instead, UNT is offering workout classes at a moderate pace, including yoga, cycling, Pilates, and more.
Don't rely on your dad's old workout videos. Check out the UNT Rec Center today.
A Red River blowout over the weekend at the Cotton Bowl as the Texas Longhorns trampled the Oklahoma Sooners 49-0. The Longhorns, led by running back Bijan Robinson, outgained the Sooners 585 to 195, and they locked down Oklahoma quarterback Davis Bevell. The Sooners face another very tough test this weekend against the 5-1 Kansas Jayhawks, led by former North Texas quarterback Jason Bean. And speaking of quarterbacks, not one, not two, not three, but 4 straight wins for Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys, who beat the defending Super Bowl champion LA Rams 22-10 yesterday afternoon. The Cowboys defense became the second squad in franchise history to only give up 5 touchdowns in the first 5 weeks, a record that was previously held by the 1972 Doomsday defense. A battle for the top spot in the NFC East will take place Sunday night between the Cowboys and the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Yesterday, the Mean Green soccer team lost 2-0 to Rice, who now sits atop Conference USA. The loss drops UNT down to 4th in Conference USA, and with a game this Thursday against Florida International, who has yet to win a conference game. That's all for me. Back to you guys at the desk.
Today is World Mental Health Day, shedding light to a problem that has been long ignored. Stigma surrounding mental health became more acknowledged in 2020 after an alarming increase in ER visits regarding mental health in ages 12 to 17. Mental health manifests itself in a wide spectrum. World Mental Health Day hopes to raise more awareness about resources to help those who struggle with theirs. Thank you so much for watching ntTV News at Noon.
Join us again tomorrow here on North Texas Television.